4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, and welcome to Citizen Assembly Crucible. We'll be measuring your ideas using a fixed set of principles. I am your host, Sherwin Shao. In this meeting, you will hear Staci Gustafson's idea as evaluated by Joe Benham using 36 holistic principles. We will start with introductions. Please tell us your name, your country, and what's the one change you'd like to see in this world. My name is Sherwin. I'm in Vancouver, Canada. I like to see societal systems motivating contributional opportunities instead of economic opportunities, as scarcity becomes less and less of a problem. Let's go by alphabetical order. So Cynthia, would you like to go next?
Well, you know I would. I get so excited about this. My name is Cynthia Leonard. I'm in the United States of America. I am a promoter organizer for agora-ilp.org. And the one thing I'd like to see change in this world is I would like to see the Uberarchy fall. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cynthia. Next, Joe, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'm Joe. I'm in Fairfax, California, near San Francisco, and I would just love to see more places for people to fit into the world, and for the people in general to fit into the natural world around them.
All right, thank you, Joe. Reagan, can you go next?
My name is Reagan Carnes. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm interested in information theory as it applied to the function of government. And I would like to see a democracy that's organized around a more flexible architecture of representation.
Thank you, Reagan. And finally, Staci.
I'm Staci Gustafson, and I am in Southwest Texas. And I would like to see holistic community problem solving used, including the oneworld411.com 36 holistic principles. Thank you.
All right. So basically, we all probably want to see the same thing stated in different ways. Our meeting format for Citizens Assembly Crucible will go like this. Let me just do a quick share screen here. So our meeting goes like this. First, the feature presenter will present her idea. This is Staci, will present her idea from the Agora website. Next, our reviewer, Joe Benham will rate that idea and comment on that idea using each of Staci's 36 holistic principles. After that, the presenter, Staci, will respond to the reviewer. And each principle is then highlighted in the chat where the audience can comment on the idea in light of that principle. Due to time constraint, only one of the participants will be selected to speak for each principle, and then we'll go on to the next principle. The presenter will have 2 minutes to respond to each comment, after which the reviewer will bring up the next principle. If time allows, the presenter and host can open the meeting for a general round table discussion with all the participants at the end of all the ideas and principles. Please type hands up in the chat in all caps, and you'll be given the chance to talk. Please do not interrupt other speakers. And with that, let's get started. Staci, can you present the idea?
Okay, I'm going to start screen sharing.
Go ahead.
My idea is called Universal Basic Income with blockchain credits earned from universal exchange spreadsheets. Inspired by Ilya DeRoche's idea, Gratitude as Income, and Sherwin Shao's idea, Universal Community Project. What if economic growth and winning were no longer the goals? Communities are fractured and unhealthy. People do not even know how to connect anymore. This proposal offers real actions the average person can take to recreate a holistically healthy community model. Premise 1, late-stage capitalism has become unstable. The government needs economic growth to fund their continuing inefficiencies and keep the currency viable. Their resulting policies have become increasingly non-capitalistic. 2, self-reliant communities are needed to minimize money reliance. We all yearn to be connected more by community than by money. We all seek aspirational and contributional opportunities more than economic and job opportunities. Now capitalism has brainwashed us. When someone needs help, the question asked is how much for that? Neighbors want to help each other and open their hearts to solve food and housing insecurity. Cook, clean, fix, build, help. We can take money out of situations where precision is not required, no middlemen corporations. This idea emphasizes cooperation more than competition. The corporation will still dominate commerce, but let us take care of each other without middlemen. Society can run a free market economy in parallel with a community economy. Even with a declining economy, people would be actively engaged to ensure human needs are being met. How can this help? Aside from money, we should be given the opportunity to help our neighbors, starting at grassroots. The solution: Universal Exchange Spreadsheets, or UES, with supporting project management documentation. It is a packet with everything an individual or group needs to form and run a universal exchange community. Communities are maintained at membership and activity levels that are manageable and can split and grow organically with this format, which can be easily duplicated, merged, or scaled. Communities are recommended to perform decision-making following the oneworld411.com 36 holistic principles and the Citizen Assembly deliberative democracy meeting format. How to use the UES. Individuals can 1, list requests for performance of services or ask for needed items. 2, providers can search for requests to fulfill. Once the request fulfillment is verified, the provider receives blockchain verified credits. 1 credit is equal to 1 man-hour of work. The value of such hour credit is determined by the community. There are 4 markets of exchange for such credits. 1, the credits can be exchanged individual to individual by private treaty or listed exchanges for items or services. 2, the selling of earned credits for cash. 3, the credits can be exchanged for cash from a crowd-funded Universal Basic Income Fund. As a community's voluntary recognition of the time and resources invested by the recipient. And 4, individuals can create and list their personal crowd fund on the UES so that community members or others can gift the provider directly. Providers are asked to make transparent on their crowdfund page all income received going back a minimum of 3 years. And that would be the cash income that they have received through the crowdfund as opposed to the credits that are listed on the UES. The community creates a UBI crowdfund with community-chosen guidelines attached to their withdrawal, depending on the size of the fund and community goals. Community service should be mandatory for recipients of the Universal Basic Income crowdfund proposed or qualify for UBI credits due to verified difference in abilities. Withdrawals can be by standard allotment, incremental allotments for service performed, or community projects. People want to contribute to their community's needs with cash, but getting that money into the hands that need them is still an issue today, as charities can misuse funds. In this fashion, the UBI fund contributors feel good about the investment of their money in verified products and services being provided directly within communities with no resource drains from middlemen or bureaucracy and with less chance of large-scale corruption. This proposed system has 2 other benefits. 1, it allows incremental application of trackable UBI funds exactly where needed. And 2, those who don't need a UBI won't receive funds unnecessarily. Again, UBI crowd funds are distributed according to the community's fund size, goals, and chosen guidelines. And it may seem almost too good to be true, but the exchange of crowd funds, such as through GoFundMe, are often considered gifting and not taxable. A new job is foreseeable to facilitate credit verification as necessary. Such persons would conduct investigations prompted by UES transactions and earn such credits as are associated with properly listed verification requests. An example of the Universal Exchange spreadsheet can be viewed with this link. And this is what it looks like. So it works a lot like a Craigslist. You have categories, items needed, and then a Craigslist, all of the items that you might find on Craigslist. Item offered, all of the items that you might find on Craigslist. Services needed, services offered, auto, beauty, etc. All these can be listed and they're well organized for searching, housing, jobs, discussion. And we have an example here that has actually taken place and been filled out. Graphics design, if you can see here, it's listed under services needed, graphics design under computers. It was the Subcommunity Universal Community Project. The date listed is here, the time. The requester was me, Stacy. The provider was Joe. The task or item was a logo. The budget was 5 hours. The credits assigned to the task or item were 3 based on a per hour credit. This was based on the final outcome. Then we have the completion date. The verification is complete. We've got problem solving comments, general comments. The credits received, repaid 3 of 5 hours. And there is a space here where Joe could provide a crowd fund link so that he could receive cash if somebody believed that he should be paid in cash for the community service that he performed. And I've included here an example of a house cleaning request as well. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Stacy. Now we will begin with Joe's first principle.
Okay. And I'm going to take 1 minute per each of my comments. And what I'm suggesting is that, Stacy, you can reply in 2 minutes, and then whoever wants to make a comment can take a minute, and then you can take a minute to reply. So it goes 1, 2, 1, 1. Does that work?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So principle 1 is diminish no one or nothing, or do no harm. And my first comment is, when you say the corporation will still dominate commerce, but let us take care of each other without middlemen, this does harm to the bottom line of corporations, for-profit businesses, and the overall GDP-based measurement of the economy. If these charitable community-based activities are having that much impact, however, it must be that they are doing a lot of good. So I think it does more good than harm. My next comment is when you say community service should be mandatory for recipients of the Universal Basic Income crowdfund proposed or qualify for UBI credits due to verified difference in abilities. I say possibly lets some able-bodied people fall through the cracks for whom there is no work available.
I agree. That is a really good point. And I would offer that each community has the opportunity to adapt and adjust as they see fit with the things that happen in their community. And it may not be the same from community to community. So it's nicely adaptable.
Okay. So comments on principle number 1.
I see a comment. I'm not sure if it applies to principle number 1. Reagan, did you want to read your comment?
You said early on in the presentation that the group or the crowd would determine the value of the man hour And I instantly recognized that as Marxist labor value theory. How does it differ from labor value theory in order to prevent the catastrophe of destructive misallocation of resources? That's what destroyed the Soviet Union, in effect.
I don't know labor value theory, but I would suggest that we have a pretty good understanding of what 1 hour of labor is worth in a certain community, and 1 hour of skilled labor of varying types. I believe you could use the existing market.
This experiment was actually performed in the 1970s, what you described, in Vermont, upstate Vermont. And it collapsed their community because they couldn't come to agreement on the value of different types of work. They could not come to a collective agreement on it because to one person, something is very highly valued, the same work, compared to what it would be valued to another person. This is what is essentially the distinction of the open market that distinguishes itself from communism.
Okay,
Communism
we have one more
essentially
minute to finish
the
this.
collective assignment of value.
Yeah, Reagan,
Okay.
we'll have to move on. I think we would like to hear more about that at the end, Reagan. Shall we just go on to the second principle?
Okay. Second principle is obey the law. And when you say the provider receives blockchain verified credits, I say things which mimic the function of currency are legal as long as they fulfill a need not already met in society. So be sure that you are examining that to see if it fits that niche.
I believe that it is exactly addressing that niche by asking for people to list the needs that they cannot take care of themselves and don't have access to take care of themselves.
Okay. Any comments?
I don't think there's any comments at this time. Let's move on to the next one.
Okay, principle number 3, be honest and clarify language through definitions. When you say universal exchange community, I say include definition for your readers. When you say communities are maintained at membership and activity levels that are manageable and can split and grow organically with this format, which can be easily duplicated, merged, or scaled, give actual figures and numbers if available. The last is the provider receives blockchain verified credits. Explain for those who don't know what blockchain is.
I will start with the last one. I really don't know exactly what blockchain is, but what I'm trying to capture here is an actual verifiable, valuable thing that can be tracked and not corrupted by somebody just coming into the spreadsheet and changing stuff. And the first one was what again?
Include definition of universal exchange community.
And I would define, thank you, I should have that defined. And the universal exchange community would be those people who choose to use this spreadsheet and conduct the things that will be the project management in order to make the spreadsheet function in their community.
Okay. And the middle one was when you say that communities are maintained and membership active levels that are manageable and can be split and grow organically. If you have actual figures on what those numbers are, like, you know, what is the optimal group size, that kind of thing.
I would let that be an organic thing, and I think it may change from community to community. They would decide whether it's working, and when it's too many people and too much for their community, then that would be time for them to say we can split off and create something more that is more manageable.
It might be nice if they had guidelines to help them, is what I think. You know, so
absolutely. It is in there listed that there will be a packet giving them all the project management.
Okay. Okay, we have a couple minutes for more questions or comments.
Cynthia, you had wrote down something? Not you.
It was actually in reference to the last point that you were making. I was wondering how is the determination made on who can care for oneself and who cannot care for oneself? Because if I've learned anything having these UBI conversations, like everybody is very quick to point the finger at somebody that they think is not doing their fair share, no matter what their reason is. So how is that determination being made?
I would imagine that it would be used using, at least as a basis, today's current guidelines for government subsidies, but then adaptable by community for their own personal needs.
Yikes. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so principle 4 says, be transparent, make all decisions objectively under the assumption they will be transparent to all. Okay, I'm going to choose my last comment here. You say for number 3 in your in your essay, the credits can be exchanged for cash from crowdfunded Universal Basic Income Fund as communities voluntarily show recognition of the time and resources invested by the recipient. Directly beneath that, you say, is individuals can create and list their personal crowd fund on the UES so that community members or others can gift the provider directly. Providers are asked to make transparent on their crowdfund page all income received going back a minimum of 3 years. So please explain how 3 and 4 are different.
So the first one is you want to be able to see the credits earned, but the second one is the amount of cash received by somebody in their crowd fund, supposedly based on the amount of credits that they've earned in the community. So the credits are the proof that they perform the community service. And maybe there isn't a whole lot of, maybe there isn't something that that person needs that is being offered for credits in the community. And cash is still very valuable in today's world. So the ability to cash out your credits for cash by people gifting you in exchange for your community service is again a way to get it directly into the hands. But the thing that they're making transparent for the crowd fund is the cash that they have earned from the crowd fund, because you don't want too much cash so let's say they've earned 15 credits. I think that the amount that they should be gifted is worth about 15 hours. And what if people can't see how much money they've been given? People just keep giving to this person, and now they've earned like thousands of dollars in cash for 15 hours of work.
Okay. We have time for comments here. Anyone take a minute to give a comment or ask a question about this?
I don't think we have any more comments. Let's go ahead with the next point.
Well, I want to put a comment here. I'm still trying to figure out how 3 and 4 are different, though, because it seems like they both rely on a crowdsourcing source of funding. Am I wrong about that?
I'm thinking that 3 is the universal exchange spreadsheet. And what is being transparent on there is the credits, but it's not going to show, and then the crowd fund is a link to their crowd fund, but the UES is not going to show the cash earned in somebody's crowd fund as appreciation for the community service that they have done.
I'm still trying to figure it out, but that's okay. That's all right. I'm just saying, you know what? I think we'll say this number 4. This is be transparent. I think it needs further definition. Maybe it fits under premise 3 as well, or maybe premise whatever, where you define make definitions is all.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's go on to the next principle, Joe.
All right. So principle 5, simplify, choose simplicity over complexity. Now you say we can make money out of situations where precision is, we can take money out of situations where precision is not required, no middleman or corporations. And I say that definitely satisfies principle number 5, which is simplicity. So no other comment beyond that.
Okay. I don't have any comment to that then.
Okay.
I like to comment a little bit. I think if we are to focus on solving specific unmet needs, I think it is could be simpler if we were to eliminate things like a cash component to this, or even a product-based solutions to this. So to me, like, I'm just wondering if it could be a lot simpler if we focus on solving one problem for one specific set of very highly painful needs, right? Things that cause the most suffering. Similar to, like, you know, at the money end, the people who have the most money can make the most impact. So how about from the other end is the people who have the most painful needs? Again, I'm kind of talking as I'm thinking, but I don't know if that could be measured. Maybe Reagan can come up with some kind of example or something. But I know it's kind of hard to measure need, but at the same time, would it be possible to focus on the things that are highest need first?
We still got 2 minutes on this piece. Anyone want to give a comment for a minute and let Staci respond? Okay, looks like we're running ahead of time.
Well, I would say, Sherwin, there are so many adaptations that you can attach to this system that I think you were talking also in your, what inspired me about this idea, you were talking about a food application. So if we have a real issue with getting people food, make an application that makes it easy for people to connect and share food in their community. I think that's great. There are all sorts of things that we can do with this.
Yeah, thank you. Because to me, food is one of those things that, especially prepared food, is one of those things that people wouldn't ask extra of if they already have it, right? It's a huge need when you're hungry, but it's absolutely not a need when you're not. So it might be one of those things that fits perfectly.
Perfectly. And it's so difficult to distribute that. So if you have a way to get the connections to distribute it, that's really the thing.
Yeah. Okay, Joe, let's move on to the next point.
Okay, principle 6, and sorry, I lost track of whose role was what. So we'll start here with prioritize viability of the whole so long as it complies with the standards. And this idea, when you say this idea emphasizes cooperation more than competition, I say that's very much in keeping with principle 6. And when you say society can run a free market economy in parallel with a community economy, I say that allows for society to transition as slowly or as quickly as they are able and comfortable with a market-based to community-based economy, or to harmoniously operate under both systems. I think it would work. I think it does prioritize viability of the whole. It also gives them options, which that's, I think, a number 9 principle. But so nothing to critique there. I think it's viable for a lot of reasons.
And I would add, I really like the viability part of it. We've seen that our current way that we do things is not viable. I think that we're headed for issues, even bigger issues. So if we can bring this in, I think it will be more beneficial as for viability of the whole.
Okay, I think Reagan, your comment probably addresses viability the most. Can you offer maybe some suggestions on some things that could be improved with Staci's idea?
Ah. I don't know right offhand. Yeah, economics is very complicated, and over time it gets more complicated. I don't know that any kind of fixed structure for exchanging goods and services can accommodate all of its complexity.
Why do you call it fixed structure?
The blockchain, the blockchain and the assignment of value. So the
The
value,
assignment of value is all
the
adaptive.
value of any particular act changes over time, any particular work.
And the community is allowed to adjust as things happen. That's part of the principles which we are saying that people should follow, which prioritizes simplicity over complexity and allows adaptation to the system as it grows and changes.
I think
Got 30 seconds.
let me try this a little bit. Economics as it stands today, through thousands of years in the past, has become something that's involves so many people in like even the pricing of anything involves a lot of different people, so it's almost democratized, right? And the accuracy actually comes from democratization. You know, if a whole bunch of people need certain services, the price goes up, and
I'm sorry,
and
sure
so
went.
on. Okay, yeah, we'll get back to this. Let's move on to the next one, Joe.
Okay. Number 7 is benefit the most in number over the few, so long as it complies with the standards. All right. So when you say, even with a declining economy, people would be actively engaged to ensure human needs are being met. I'm just going to gamble and say you're right about that, and I think they would. You know, as long as they are feeling like their efforts are being met. You know, like no one likes to look at a pile full of dishes and thinks, well, am I the only one doing them, right? But I think you could get that kind of a culture of participation. And I would say if you can, if it does that, it would meet the criteria for principle number 7. So nothing to critique there. I've got more critiques though further down the list. So would any of you like to critique this based on whether it benefits the most in number over the few and complies with the standards?
I believe it does as well. The intention is definitely to benefit the most. Shall we, any response to that, Staci?
No.
All right, we can move on to the next one.
Okay. So number 8 is including all so as they comply with the standards. Sorry, I'll read that again. Number 8 is include all so long as they comply with the standards. When you say provider can search for requests to fulfill, what I say is consider also providing a place where providers can announce their offerings to prospective requesters. Would you have an objection to doing that?
It's actually on the spreadsheet. We have offers and requests.
Okay, but the way you wrote it, it made it sound as if the provider had to search for requests already made, as opposed to offering services that someone else could request.
Both exist.
Oh, both exist. Okay. And the other thing I would just add to that is that remember, it is actually, I think, very difficult to get people to follow through on receiving the thing they're being offered. I've just experienced that myself. So there ought to be some way to, you know, get someone who's lucky enough to receive something to actually want to go and, you know, redeem it. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay. Anne had a question on where the principles are posted, and I'm just putting it in the chat right now. If you could.
Great, thank you. I went to the Agora site, but I didn't see it there.
Yep. Okay, I just put it there. You can scroll down to
Awesome.
Standards. Okay.
Wonderful, thank you.
There's no more comments. So let's go to the next principle.
Okay.
Principle 9.
Principle number 9, create choice over exclusive rules. So there are 4 markets of exchange. I say that definitely fulfills principle number 9, giving people choices for ways to redeem their credits. I'm going to ask you in number 10 about, you know, maybe I'll, yeah, I'm sorry. Anyway, it definitely fulfills number 9. So yes, give people ways to redeem their credits. And yeah, I'm sorry. I'm done with that part.
Yeah, I won't argue with you. I think there's a lot of choice offered here.
Right.
And not exclusive rules.
Right.
Okay. And are we doing principle number 10, Joe? Okay.
I guess so. And I thought I had more to critique here, but it just seems like everything melds so nicely with the principles. The number 10 is create and maintain ecological health. And you say in your essay, it says communities are recommended to perform decision-making following the oneworld411.com 36 holistic principles and the Citizen Assembly deliberative democracy meeting format. Now, this is kind of a self-referencing loop because you're also saying in principle number 10 that you are to create ecological health. So basically you're saying, refer back to principle number 10, which meets the requirements. So yes, you are including that. I mean, I think you ought to make it explicit though. I think you ought to have it not just in the principle, but also in the description of how this is done. But underscore ecology in there too.
Excellent. Thank you.
Right.
I will do that.
Right. Cool.
Okay. Is that, we're doing 10, is that right, Joe?
That's right. Yeah. So
okay.
we've been
perfect.
through.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So at this time, we would like to open up the floor to general comments and questions. If you have a question, put it in the chat. Put your hand up in the chat so you can begin talking. Let me go ahead.
If we don't have an immediate hand up, I would like to address Cynthia's concern over the, oh, Marcin, go ahead.
Hey, sorry, you could have finished, but since I'm on anyway, I can ask any general question, right, over everything that was covered so far?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. So on base pay, or at least on reimbursement of labor, I myself believe it should be time-based because we only have so much time, and that's the most valuable thing in all of our lives. It should also be based on the need and skill set, I guess, but mainly need, because you know that kind of involves skill set in some way. Like you won't have a lot of developers unless you have, well, you won't have a need for them. Well, I don't know. I don't think I'm doing a good job. but add that. But I feel like if you set a pay scale based on time and you have a maximum amount of that somebody can earn, let's say nobody can earn more than 10 times what the base time scale is, then you have a range to work in when it comes to determining somebody's pay in a community. This will eliminate one societal problem of inequality within that community. And then the community can work around how to get people trained as doctors, like what the expenses will go into, the need of having those types of professions. So everything can be worked around this basic pay scale. That was my input. Thank you.
I really like, Marcin, your idea of the 10 times base time scale. Definitely, I see a use for putting a cap on this so that things can't inflate to ridiculousness when people have power or control over something. And so I would ask Marcin, how would you put a value on an hour of time, and how does that differ from an hour of work?
Well, I'm not really sure. I mean, I see it as just, putting an effort into something that, that you actually earn some kind of salary or some kind of benefit from outside of, doing it for fun. So no idea.
Thank you very much, Marcin.
Can I ask you a question about where the credits are generated? I want to say digitally minted. One of the ways that people receive credits is by doing work for each other, and it seems that there's another way in which the credits are generated out of the community's will. And I extrapolated from reading your essay that it's what they decide based on the holistic principles is according to where the need is. I didn't see that necessarily explicitly spelled out, but I saw that I could piece it together by reading the whole thing. So first of all, is that what you intend? And second of all, I hope you would write it in there, make it more clear.
Can you summarize that for me one more time?
Okay. So this is for being transparent. It's the credits can be exchanged individually to individual by private treaty or listed exchanges for items or services. Now, I want you to let it be known that the service provider is either paid in credits by the requester or receives credits digitally printed based upon the community's need and adherence to the 36 holistic principles. Now, I believe this is what is intended, but the text of the essay doesn't explicitly specify. But anyway, what I'm saying is people can't double up from both sources. They can't get paid by both the requester and by the community who's printing this money, basically.
Absolutely correct. Yes, I agree.
And
That needs to-
basically, right. And the criteria for printing the money is what the community decides based on where the need is.
And also the resources available.
And the resources available. So if the community has also credits in hand, just
well, it's connected to a crowd fund. So one community's crowd fund may be $100. Another community's crowd fund may be $1 billion.
Yeah, but they're paying in credits though, in this instance. So are you saying that they generate credits based on what they gather in the crowd fund?
Yes, at least in part. So I believe that the community is going to make its decision about how they distribute the credits based on how much they have in their fund and budgeting and that type of thing.
I think that could be sticky. My sense is that it's cleaner if the credits rely on their own merit as opposed to being backed by currency. I mean, where you can sell them for currency, but as opposed to generate them from currency. I think that's a little bit
That's
different.
interesting. Is it backed by currency, or is it just the community is deciding how to use their money based on how much they have?
Oh, I would say that it's backed by basically the participation and goodwill of the people, and that it's sellable if it becomes usable enough.
I
But
agree.
I don't want to see promises and contracts being made based on people being able to, say, hey, here's my credits, I want to trade them in. No, I think they should crowdfund for it.
They should crowdfund for it.
Right.
Well,
As opposed to demand
certainly
it from a bank, right? As opposed to demand it in exchange.
they can't demand
Right.
if they receive a credit and the community said, if you did this kind of XYZ service, and there can be a designation on the things, then we will exchange those credits for you. But you don't have to come and get the cash from us. You can use those credits to buy things that are listed on the sheet as available for X number of credits.
It's still credits, though. It's not the same as cash. It's not the same as actual US dollars.
Correct. The only value is perceived.
I just want to let you know we got 4 minutes to go until our hour is up, and I think we can go over, right? About 50 up to 15 minutes or not.
Yes, well, we have a different show starting at 7 o'clock, so we need about 10 minutes or maybe 7 minutes for closing comments.
Okay.
And I would like to address Reagan's concerns about the meeting's structure, if we have the ability to do that.
Sure. Yeah, let's go ahead. Reagan, did you want to read your concerns?
Yeah. 2 minutes. Yeah. For a discussion on a presentation or a counter or a question, really the decision on how much time is really irrelevant to the problem that is being addressed. That some solutions that are optimal may require a more complex presentation that cannot be presented in 30 seconds or 2 minutes, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, well, the format is also for entertainment, and we have discovered that people don't want to attend if one person is going on for a really long time. So we have chosen the format not just for sharing of the idea, but for the distribution and entertainment purposes. And we do have other forms of meetings, and we do have lots of ways for people to connect outside of these meetings. And we really love for people to get together and discuss ideas more in depth. That is what Citizen Assembly is all about. Thanks for bringing that up, Reagan.
Perfect. Thank you, Reagan. I actually wanted to bring a comment that's partially related to this. Some of the first principles that we start with is the fact that our economy is more like, I learned from Reagan, it's more like a living organism than a design system. It takes a long time for things to stabilize because being to be efficient takes a lot of iterations, right? So that's the current state of our economy, and actually it is very efficient. And on the other side, families are also very efficient, and that's also a living organism, interestingly, not a design system. So needs are being met within families all the time. Your sister, whatever, your kids have needs, and you can just kind of help them. What we're trying to do is solve a problem, I believe, that's caused by this anonymity caused by urbanization from extreme capitalism that kind of destroyed the community. And going back to that problem is that how do we rebuild the community in a way that's more like a living organism, and that will take many iterations, and we're not quite sure a structured design would be the best first step even. I'm not sure, I'm just kind of talking aloud here. So yeah, I'm not even sure, that might be my closing statement. Staci, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I just really like the adaptability of the design and of the principles that underlie it. I think that it is just the perfect structure with self-policing principles to put the whole thing together. And you know, it depends on people being good people. And people can ruin any system. And to create rules that make people try to fight the rules in order to get what they want, I think just causes more problems. So yes, people are going to have to be good, but we've given them some really nice ideas for how to do that. Simple to follow, logical, things we expect people are doing already. So between the principles, which are adaptable and help you determine how you're doing, and also the spreadsheet being adaptable, addresses those concerns.
So we're at 4:45 California time. I think that's what, 6:45 Central Time. So do we want to do closing comments now?
Sure.
Yeah, sounds awesome. Thank you very much for your presentation, your co-presentation, Staci and Joe. At this time, let's do closing comments alphabetically. Starting with Anne.
I apologize, I was late, but I have,
Hi.
you know, I like having the website, and what I heard thus far, I think is some very valid stuff, and I appreciate you all presenting it and giving it a hearing in this way.
Awesome. And alphabetically next is Cesare, who showed up probably 5 minutes before now. And is still eating.
Not even, I'm sorry, I was in another meeting, but I'm eating this delicious lentil soup that I made. If you want the recipe, I'd be happy to share it. I yield.
All right, so Cynthia, will you go next? Oh, just say something quick.
Love and gratitude to the beloveds.
All right, and Daniel? I think Daniel also ceded his time, unless he has, yeah, say something quick. Say hi, Daniel.
Well, I think there is a growing realization that consciousness might be embedded in the structure of reality, and that we're slowly coming around to like these Dennis McKenna, Ernst McKenna were both sort of what you would call panpsychists with that view. So it really challenges us to update our whole view of consciousness and governance and preference and experience and all kinds of things. And I'm actually commenting on two platforms at once. I'm on a Zoom platform making the same comment. So it's kind of funny. We might try doing simultaneous Clubhouse and Zoom calls. See what happens. I'm done. I'm Daniel.
That sounds like entanglement.
All right.
Hey, whoever's got that lentil recipe, I'm dying for that because I love lentils and I'm a terrible cook.
All right, thank you. Marcin, can you go next? Sorry, Joe, alphabetically, Joe, you're next. Unmute, please. Joe, you're still on mute. We'll try to figure it out. Marcin, can you?
I want to say this is great.
Oh, okay.
This was great for what we could do, and I'd love to see a topic like this, if it's involving economics or UBI, something like that, get maybe a 2-hour crucible. Somehow we could schedule that in there for this type of topic. Yeah.
Mhm.
Other topics might do great with an hour. I think this one needs to.
Got it. Thank you. Marcin?
Yeah, I thought this was really good too. Honestly, one more thing we might want to consider is reimbursement for educating oneself. So that could be almost like a community job is going into school. But I don't know. I've heard both cases for it, and honestly, I think it's labor. I don't know how you guys feel, but I thought the conversation was great though. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Marcin. Reagan, can you go next? Mute yourself.
Yeah, my phone is lagging. Yeah, I'm totally on board with that, Joe. And even 2 hours might be arbitrarily short. I think everybody should be taught economics. I think that should go down with learning how to manage money, which we are definitely not being taught. Hence, everybody's going into debt from high school on, and that makes us basically slaves to the system. If everybody was taught economics, 2 hours, even 1 hour might be quite adequate. There's so much time invested in, establishing the parameters of a particular economic problem that there's no time left in a one or maybe even a 2 hour group to get to rationally explain or counter argue particular economic solutions.
Thank you very much. Point well taken. And I believe I said enough, so I'm Staci. You will have the final comments.
Thank you guys so much for getting this idea your attention, and I have some great ideas to add to it. Something great happens every time we talk about these things. So I really, really appreciate your time and attention. Your attention is the most valuable thing in the universe to me. So again, thank you.
All right, thank you, and thank you everybody for attending. If you like the ideas presented, log on and support them in agora-ilp.org. Also, in Agora, you will find information for our upcoming meetings. And finally, like and join our group, Citizen Assembly, on Facebook. Either after a meeting or a separate meeting, Staci Gustafson, co-creator of the Crucible, is available to discuss her own constitutional checklist of 36 holistic principles, or even help you develop your own. Contact her for more info. And thank you very much. And that's the meeting.